Hello Hoover 5th grade, this is Mr. Hain. This video goes along with your last project, your legacy one, where you're going to be painting design on the tile, and then I will be hanging it on the wall outside the art room. Okay, whatever you want to put on this project is totally fine. It's totally up to you. Okay, the 5th grade parent committee, I believe, sent home the tiles and the paint with you guys. You have a couple colors. You can certainly use any other acrylic paint that you may have, or if you get on top of this as well. Again, it's all up to you. Okay, something you want to think about though is, what do you want everyone else to see, after you guys? Do you want your name up there? Do you want to write a little inspirational message? Do you want to draw or paint a picture? Again, that's up to you. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about color on here. I don't have a lot of examples to show you because I really want it to be your own and whatever you want to come up with. But one thing, I just did 5th grade at Howe, and we're doing something very similar project, but we're kind of sticking with a Keith Haring figure for it. So what I was sharing with that is, if you put your name, it could be your first or your last, and then Keith Haring did a lot of intricate designs, but with really simple shapes all around. He had these little figures and these kind of shapes that would fill in the area. So we're kind of doing something like this. So if you want to do something like that, that would work out really well. Okay? All right, let me bring you in. We'll talk a little bit about color, and then I'll let you go. All right, bring you in here. Okay, so I have on here my phone with the picture of the color wheel to talk about. When you paint these tiles, like in most paintings, you kind of want to think about doing it in layers. So you want to paint your background first. Let's say if I was going to do a design like this, and I want the back of the tile to be orange, paint the whole tile orange. When it dries, and you have to let it dry, then I'd go back with my black and paint this on top. Okay? Dark colors are going to cover light colors very easily. Light ones on top of dark, it can be a little, you can cover it, but it's going to take a lot of layers. Okay, so have a plan before you go into it, deciding what it is that you want to make. Okay, colors that are going to mix are going to look nice together. So if you remember, we talked a lot about the color wheel over the last couple years, but I know in 4th grade we focused on it a lot. The color wheel set up in really specific ways, where we have the 3 primaries: red, yellow, blue. And then in between are the colors they make. So green is in between yellow and blue, purple is in between red and blue, and orange in between red and yellow, and in all those various shades in between. That matters because if you mix yellow, red, and blue, you're going to get like a brownish neutral color, kind of like a muddy color. So if you kind of go in painting using all those 3 of those and mixing, if you remember when we did our big painting project too, it's going to get muddy on you. That's another reason why to paint in layers and let it dry. The other thing, it's called analogous color scheme, which is colors next to each other on the color wheel. So if you go red to orange to yellows, those are all going to mix really nicely, because if you mix all yellow and red, you're just going to end up with orange. So if you mix a red and a little bit of orange, you're going to have a red orange. Yellow and orange, you get a little bit of a yellow orange. They work out really well. Yellow to green work out well. Green to blue works out well. So like you could start yellow into green into blue would be fine. You could do blue, purple into red. Those colors are going to work really well if you're blending them, where there's a risk of them, say you're doing like a flower petals, and you want to kind of have it be yellow and orange. If you're mixing those, it's going to be fine. It's going to come out pretty either way. If you want something that's going to pop, meaning it's not going to mix, and you want separate colors, then opposites would work really well. If you painted your tile all red and did green lettering on top, that green is really going to stand out. Or purple and then add yellow, that's going to stand out really well. Again, if you mix them, you're going to get your brown neutrals in the middle, but if you put them while they're dry, like yellow on top of purple or vice versa, it's going to look really nice. Okay, because those are complementary colors, yellow and purple, because they're directly opposite each other. Okay, so just some things to think about when you're using your colors. The other thing too that we talk a lot about is, say, especially if you're doing your name on paper, say you paint the whole background yellow, and then I do my letters in purple. That's going to look really nice. But what you could do is even add maybe around the purple, you could do orange outline. Then you're adding an extra dimension, an extra interest in the painting. Again, letting each layer dry on its own. But that purple and that orange are still going to look nice because you can find a purple and a yellow orange on a color wheel that are going to look good next to each other. It could because they're complementary colors. But also then that yellow and that orange are going to work because they are on an analogous color scheme. So you're kind of mixing complementaries and analogous. And that works because you're not actually blending them together. You're just kind of painting them on and letting it dry. Okay? So hopefully those tips help with this. I'll be excited to see what you guys make for it. Any of your own paints that are acrylic paints would work out just fine. If you want to get really creative and you want to use, your parents allow you to use spray paint or anything, that's totally fine. Anything that's permanent paint is going to work out. We don't want to use tempera paint or something that might not totally dry and then rub off if somebody bumps into it in another year or so. Okay? All right, guys, have fun with it. Email me with any questions. I believe the way we're going to return them is we'll have a bin outside of Hoover that you'll place it in, and then I'll pick up once everybody drops them off. But stay tuned for that information from either me or Miss Gill letting you know a plan. Okay, so you don't have to rush to get these done. We just want to get them done probably by middle of June at least. Okay? All right, see you guys.